at this stuff.
That's okay. We are good to go, and we are two protons in a cloud, a weekly live dialogue connecting industry experts and influencers to the online technical community. You can join us every Thursday for a virtual hangout. We chat with our guests of the week about all things cloud, dig into a project that they're passionate about, share some demos, and of course have a good laugh and learn something along the way. I am Adrienne Kreft, one of your hosts and a technical evangelist for HP Helion.
And hi, I'm Sujay Maheshwari, your second host, and I'm a dev evangelist at HP Helion. Welcome.
We are spreading out across the globe, bringing you our guest, Giuseppe Paterno from Italy, and we will dive into why enterprises are moving to multi-cloud environments and how you can help your friends who have several Linux instances and applications in different clouds.
Adrienne, but wait, first let's go over the week's headlines, right? So, if people tell you that you are too old to trick and treat, Boston Hack is happening this weekend. In a 24 hackathon, 500 students come together at Boston University, form teams, and code a solution to persisting problems from scratch.
And I'm trying to think of a Halloween-themed problem, considering Saturday's holiday. Maybe an app that covers live data on best neighborhoods for giant candy bars, or alerts for areas to avoid if you have small children, or want to avoid small children. Or maybe I'm just really unoriginal. But our friends from our last hackathon, Sujay, that you were at, Jen Pan and Tyler Nappy will be there, and we'll talk all about Haven on-demand APIs.
I already missed them. Yeah, they are fun.
And keeping with the next generation of great apps, we keep returning to IoT examples and the billions of devices already out there. Everything that's spelled EVRYTHNG operates a PaaS model, so customers pay for a license to sync IoT devices to the cloud service. This platform is able to give a real-time dashboard with billions of data points.
Let's talk about the product on this. So Diageo, the maker behind Guinness, Johnny Walker, and Smirnoff, is testing Scotch bottles with a smart label. The sensors track how frequently the bottle is poured, days, times, all the whole 9 yards there. Kinda scary, kinda cool. I'll have to see how I can avoid this with my wife. You know, she's tracking me on this one, but let's see.
Yeah, hopefully you can get sneaky, but actually not. I'm on her side. So pretty sure that CJ and I are some of the only people left in the office. Why? Because OpenStack Summit Tokyo is happening right now. We've been following the updates from the team on site in Tokyo, and the last several days have brought some pretty exciting announcements. For instance, Project Navigator is now live.
Yeah, big shout out. Project Navigator offers a simple graph of core and optional project information to help them quickly make informed decisions about the necessary components for their own deployments. This was to simplify the process of architecting and deploying OpenStack powered clouds.
Yeah, pretty cool. And the OpenStack Foundation also announced a professional certification program to provide a baseline assessment of knowledge, or rather, identify the good talent for OpenStack admins. So those who want to be certified would take a virtual certification test, and hopefully this would begin in 2016 with the help of the Linux Foundation.
Yeah, and OpenStack COO Mark Collier made a comment following the keynote announcement that plans are to look at similar certifications for developers. Good luck and fingers crossed.
Awesome. So this has, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this has quite a bit of relevance for our discussion today, isn't it, Adrienne?
Yeah, I think so. And so we can get ready for costume shopping, and Sujay and I need to pack for our flights to Berlin. We want to invite Giuseppe Paterno to the Hangout so we can talk through these trends, and he can offer some opinions about this week's announcements and what's going on with OpenStack. So Giuseppe is a European OpenStack consultant. He has a strong background in the open source world and has played an important role for Canonical, Red Hat, Sun Microsystems, and IBM. He has extensive knowledge in security, and when we aren't hogging his time for two protons, he's currently split between Switzerland, Germany, and Italy, where I'm pretty sure you are now, Giuseppe.
Yeah, indeed. Thank you very much, and thanks for joining to everybody. Today I'm actually in Rome, so it's a bit of changing country basically every week or twice a week could be.
Well, you're racking up the air miles.
Yeah, believe it or not, just on Swiss air miles I got 200,000.
Okay. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for making time for us today. And I know you have 20 plus years of IT experience. What exciting things are you doing right now?
So it's since a couple of years, it's all about OpenStack, but it's just in the recent 6 months that is ramping up, really ramping up in Europe. And I'm currently here for a big telco customer. Probably will be my largest installation of my career. We're talking about 7 data centers full active with 9,000 physical hosts. So that would be a massive one. That comes with a lot of challenges, and guess what? The most difficult challenges are not really technical. I mean, even if they are technical, but really changing the way things are done. It's probably the hardest part of being an OpenStack consultant. And well, yeah, it's all about telcos and all about financial markets here in Europe. What actually it's a bit different now. I was surprised to see some utilities to join OpenStack as well, especially in multi-cloud environments.
Right, right. So. Do you think the enterprises are ready to move to the cloud? And I bet one of the questions you might hear often is, hey, should we go the OpenStack route or the alternates of OpenStack? And how can I make a decision as an enterprise? So how do you deal with these questions?
So this is exactly the typical frequently asked question from my customers. Let me answer the first question is, are the enterprise ready to go to OpenStack? The answer could be yes. Well, to the cloud, the answer could be yes. Is OpenStack the right one for them? It really depends from industry to industry. So there is no magic wand. But we need to understand their business point of view before actually understanding. So there are 2 questions and 2 main reasons to go away from current infrastructures. One is squeezing down costs of VMware. So this is one of probably the most asked question ever. And the other one is trying to be having a faster time to market. And this is especially true for large corporations. So for large corporations and let's say service providers, telco operators, it's no doubt that OpenStack could be the one for them. For mid-size enterprises that want to squeeze down costs from VMware, there might be some alternatives to VMware. They are cheap enough, let's say Xen Server, KVM. There are some other niche products like OpenNebula, for example, that could be doable for them. Just because the problem of OpenStack is the entry barrier, especially here in Europe. We are full of small and medium businesses, and not everybody can afford 12 machines to start an OpenStack installation, because this is the number of machines you really need to start a small production environment. And the average size of the a VMware cluster is currently in between 4 to 16 nodes. So you really need to understand the trade-off. One other thing that actually is more on the business side, of OpenStack is that you can track better costs. So it's not really technical,
Right.
but having a cloud adoption in general could be OpenStack on other clouds. If you're architecting the proper way, then you can drill down costs for the single project, not only on the technical parts, but also on the people involved in the project.
Right. Right.
It's actually a long topic. I will actually talk about this in Dublin on the 10th of November, all about how to squeeze costs using a different model.
Excellent. Yeah. So, kind of getting into the meat of this episode, then what's a multi-cloud environment?
Okay, so thanks for using this terminology, because most of the people think about hybrid as multi-cloud, which can be a way of interpreting the word hybrid. Multi-cloud is, having not just having your own systems and your own virtual machines and your own application running on multiple clouds. Let's say you have typical scenario is having a private cloud on OpenStack and a public cloud on another data center running on Amazon, for example. Why should you do that? Probably because you can have two ways. One is disaster recovery, for example. You might want to have a cheap solution for having disaster recovery. And the other one is actually taking the best of everything. So that could be an approach. You can, there are several scenarios, no actual customer is equal to the other. But an idea, for example, is using a front end in another cloud. So you actually offload where the most bandwidth is in a provider cloud. Could be Azure, could be Amazon, could be another OpenStack instance sitting at the customer. That doesn't matter.
So you did touch upon why an enterprise would need a multi-cloud environment, but is it beyond the points you said that a multi-cloud is needed? I mean, is regulatory or a compliance also part of multi-cloud environment? Can you share a little more on that?
Okay, so certainly compliance, especially in Europe, is very key when you have to address multi-cloud. But in general, the reason for adoption is probably squeezing down costs. It's more on cost than on security.
Okay.
Though there are a lot of security challenges when you go on multi-cloud, because just when you enter the cloud world, even the private clouds,
Right.
the standard security policy doesn't apply anymore. That's especially true in a multi-cloud environment. So traditional methodology of addressing security, corporate security on applications, is completely turned upside down.
So to kind of double click on that, I mean, you mentioned the security, but what, in your opinion, is the best way to stay on top of issues like that?
The way to address it is changing the way applications and security is done. Okay, I'm advocating what I call it continuous security model. So firewall at the end of the day are dead. So today we just discussed about firewalling in this telco here, and we ended up saying, okay, we need to have 2 or 3 different layers of firewalls before an application go to the customer go to the actual application. And you know what? If you follow all the dots, you see that only allowed protocol is HTTPS. So the vector of attack is now inside the HTTPS, and the firewall can't do much about it unless they can inspect the traffic inside. So they can't detect if there is a security problem. So the best way to do it is actually addressing into the application.
Right.
So when I say continuous security, is actually linked somehow into continuous integration and continuous delivery. So this is a new way of, well, not really new way of delivering application, but it is especially true in a cloud environment and container environment. So if you just extend this model and just after passing the functional tests, you do some static security analysis, for example. So before actually going into production, you pre-deploy the application, you run some automated vulnerability assessments, probe on penetration tests, and then you validate the application before going online. This is a way of addressing security, for example, and it is far more better than using, stick a firewall in front and just hope that nobody breaks in, because sooner or later somebody will break in anyway. And also one other thing that nobody address is actually identity security. So in the last couple of years, so security, as you mentioned, is one of my key topic, and identity security is one of the easy way of getting information. So we think about, of course, getting an application secure. Then at the end of the day, an employee put 1, 2, 3, 4 as a password, and then someone, a bot can just pop in, and that's it. So you need to enforce the security also, enforcing who is actually accessing the security in a secure way. It's a huge topic.
Right. And we all know, right? I mean, how Facebook's and some of these Instagram, I mean, some of these new companies, they don't deploy the traditional firewalls which have been deployed in other enterprises. So yeah, this space is definitely, evolving, and a lot of different patterns we are seeing. So moving on. We know you are creator of login.farm, and behind Adrian I can see there's a bit.ly which you have given us just for our viewers, some specials as part of that bit.ly. So can you walk us through what login.farm is and why did you create this?
Okay, so it's somehow linked to multicloud. So if you are sticking with a classical intranet, then it's easy peasy. You have Active Directory, you have probably LDAP, and that works great. No matter how big is your intranet, could be General Motor one, which is really big. It's huge, but still an intranet. Okay, if you move out to this environment and especially mix up everything, then you have to have something that really ensure your identity across multiple clouds. Okay, in an easy way, in a programmable way, in an easy to integrate way, and this is login farm. So let's give an example that really we talked about today. Cloud, especially the cloud, the front end cloud, it's all about elasticity. Okay, so the front end will actually enlarge or decrease depending on the loads of the web application itself.
Yep.
Okay. So machines are spawned and are deleted every now and then. In this kind of environment, Active Directory just doesn't work. Okay, because its protocol is bound to be one machine and one client.
Right.
So Login Farm is actually a free project to address all this information about multi-cloud and try to enhance end-user security, because as built in, for example, two-factor authentication, is able to retrieve SSH keys on the fly. The modules are upstream on Ubuntu, on Debian. We are currently working on getting it upstream on Fedora and SUSE, but modules are already there. So it's actually to address this kind of information for both system administrator and developers. So with a simple API, you can do it.
And is it tied to any particular type of cloud right now?
No. It's completely cross. I mean, it works also bare metal, for example. Okay. So you can deploy a Kickstarter and automatically inject the keys of Login Farm to your virtual machine, or you can use it under Azure, Amazon, whatever. It's an API call at the end of the day from a technical perspective. Just some API calls. So wherever you can make some API calls on HTTPS, that's done. And that's why it's actually good, because even for a programmer, it's just something like 3 or 4 lines of code, and that's it.
Pretty sleek. Thank you. So
I want to call attention before we move on to Jay that the bit.ly behind me is actually a secret link for our viewers where normally login form is by invitation. This one gets you access right in there for anybody who wants to join.
Oh, nice.
Yes.
Thank
And
you.
we are looking for and we are also looking for contributors. So all the modules are open source on GitHub. So feel free to join also to help us on expanding it.
Absolutely.
Okay, and let's touch on examples, Giuseppe, of enterprises who are executing multi-cloud environments successfully. Anything that you've experienced as talking to people?
Yeah, unfortunately, I can't release the names. Just on top of my mind, there are a couple of public utilities that are taking advantage of it. Of course, just another bit, you know, in order to run on multi-cloud, you have to have what we call cloud management platform. Okay, there are a lot of them because you know the cloud management platform acts as a portal on an API responder to then select which cloud you want to deploy to. Okay, there are some freely available one. HP has its own, which is CSA. Red Hat as another one, and etc. etc. So probably the best one, it really depends on customer to customer, but there are some more feature rich and supports multiple cloud, including, for example, VMware itself. Back to the question, yes, it just happens then Microsoft to some specific large customers, for example, give some, I wouldn't say free, but part of the multi-site super duper license program. They give some instances for free on Azure. And most of the customers are just asking, why can't I'm basically paying for it? Why can't I just leverage? And could be the way of saying, okay, you use your internal OpenStack to do your own internal stuff, and then the front end using microservices are running. Okay, so you can offload peaks as well as, for example, offload some peak of computational power. Let's say they have to compute on builds, and that will happen only once a month. Okay. So why wasting all the hardware inside when they can, produce the PDFs on Azure, then retrieving it back, put on an object storage, and then deliver through Swift, for example, to the end customer. So they just use the external ones for the peaks as well. And these are the two public utilities comes to my mind, but the scenarios vary from customer to customer, to be honest.
Right. Yep. So we are coming to the end of our show, and since this show is all about talking with our developer community, what would you want to tell our developer community as to how to gear up for the future? What's coming down the line? What should they be looking for? Some advice there.
So one of the I'm sure most of the audience will knows that already, but most of the developers still doesn't understand the cloud model, which means having a stateless approach to a single VM or a single Docker container. So Docker will surely help on this. But I'm still seeing a lot of not understanding about an application being stateless, not using I've seen applications sharing files inside OpenStack using NFS, which is not really that great. I mean, you have an object storage, try to leverage an object storage. So, and if you can, try to stick on using a continuous integration and continuous delivery platform that ends up building a VM or actually a container. This is the way. This is probably the best way also to address multi-cloud as well, because having a container, no matter really when your application runs, you just already QA about it. If it runs on localhost, if it runs on Hong Kong, Shanghai, or San Francisco, who cares? As long as it does what it should do in a secure way.
Absolutely, and you are right. I've had this experience, when I go to meetups and conferences and conduct these workshops, I kind of ask the show of hands how many people know 12 factors, and I was surprised to see until recently, 2 weeks back, I was in New York, like 20% people know what 12 factors are and how they like are crucial to adopt cloud kind of thing or build cloud native applications. So yeah, I think that's a good start for developers who are not yet aware as to what's coming.
Yeah, and I'm glad to hear from you guys that the OpenStack Foundation is ramping up having a certification for developers, because these are really key to adoption. Unless there is no point to move a COBOL application to the cloud anyway. So that has to be cloudish, what I call it.
Excellent. So I think that was a great discussion. As always, thank you so much for joining, Giuseppe. And looks like we don't have any questions from our audience. Sujay, is there any final notes that you have spinning around in your head?
No, I think I really wanted to hear more on the multi-cloud environment, because this is something I get asked at some of the places where I go. So thank you again, Giuseppe. This was lovely.
No problem.
And
May I add something?
Absolutely, go ahead.
Okay, just to leverage this discussion. So yesterday, I'm one of the, probably you know about FOSDEM, right?
Yeah.
That's the biggest open source conference in Europe running on February. So I'm the part of the organizers of the virtualization and infrastructure as a service dev room. We just opened the call for papers that will hand up on the beginning of December. So I'm just looking for you guys, all of you, having papers submitted to our dev room. Of course, the call for paper will run on the FOSDEM main website, so you know where to go.
Lovely. Thank you very much for sharing that.
Awesome.
So yeah, go ahead.
Well, for all of you, we want to make sure that we're keeping up to date for us, for our audience, and of course for opportunities like what Giuseppe just mentioned. And a reminder that we are on to Germany this coming week for an exciting Halloween aboard a plane. We will be live from the Cloud Foundry Summit in Berlin. So stay tuned as Sujay and I attempt to make a lot of friends, and we'll of course keep you updated on some exciting announcements coming your way.
Yes, and follow us on Twitter. Our Twitter handle is number two, Protons. You'll be the first to know some exciting challenges coming your way in November. Thank you.
Excellent, and thank you again, Giuseppe. I hope you get some sleep tonight, finally.
Well deserved.
Yeah, so we've got our audience saying thank you so much for the login farm account, and they're looking forward to trying it out. So that was good news. Thanks for the secret link. And we'll see everybody next week.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.